Thank you, Mom. That was my Facebook posting today. Something I've said many times in many different ways over the years, and fitting to honor Mother's Day. Also, though I admit, not probably enough. Mother's Day always feels like a bit of a short-changing of the toughest job there is, but we do our best. I have a lot to be thankful for in my life. My experience has always been of receiving support and love from my mother, guidance that was invaluable, care in times of trouble, and long-distance love even when I broke my mother's heart and turned out on my own journeys. Anyone who has ever had a mother or witnessed mothering of all sorts can attest that there are shining pedestal moments, and there are also moments we wish left on the cutting room floor of our memories. But either way, we still must give thanks. The truth is that mothers have always been celebrated. The Greeks celebrated festivals to honor mothers, giving tribute to Rhea, the mother of all Olympian gods. The English have a tradition from the 1600s called Mothering Sunday, which required mandatory visits of your mother. In hand, you had to have mothering cakes, whatever those were. They were probably quite tasty, I'm sure. But for Americans, there is a different foundation for this holiday. I know some of you have heard this before, but it bears repeating. At the end of the Civil War, Unitarian Julia Ward Howe stimulated our Mother's Day Foundation. They didn't believe at those times that Mother's Day was about putting mothers on pedestals. In 1870, Julia Ward Howe watched as war broke out in Europe just 5 years after our Civil War ended. She was a peace activist, a member of a Unitarian family of New England. And Miss Howe wrote a manifesto against the Franco-Prussian War, traveled to Europe to deliver it at the International Peace Conference, but was denied by the men in charge to give that manifesto to the public. So like any good Unitarian, she rented a hall down the street and invited the public and gave her manifesto anyway. On June 2nd, 1870, Julia Ward Howe issued the first Mother's Day proclamation, which you may have heard here before, but it bears repeating. She said, "Arise, then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether your baptism be that of water or tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have taught them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, women of one country, will be too tender of those of another to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs." She said, "From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm." As I thought about this sermon and Mother's Day and Julia Ward Howe, I asked, why is this still such powerful material? Why is this clarion call for mothers and women so powerful even today? For the time it was written in, women were more silent in politics, neither holding office nor pulpit or publication for the most part. Remember, it wasn't until 1917 that the first woman, Jeanette Rankin, a Republican from Montana, was elected to the House of Representatives. For the most part, in the 19th century, women were trying to get their petticoats in the door, as it were. And Howe's bold and powerful statement from the depths of the womb that bore the children who would grow up on the heels of the Civil War was to disarm. Why is this still such powerful stuff? My visceral response to Howe's call for peace says that mothers are our creators. We all have come through their bodies. And for better or worse, they speak as creators on earth with their actions and with their mouths. And mothers have a special power over us all. As I was thinking about this original intent of Mother's Day, I thought about where I have seen mothers promoting peace in the world. And I remembered a group I encountered in Israel. The group is called Machzon Watch. The Machzon, which means checkpoint, the Machzon is also the intimate borders of life and death, where each of us would find an ear to listen to be listened to speak our fears and our painful stories. The Machzon in Hebrew is the checkpoint, but also this place of confession or care where two people would come together in an intimate way, maybe a member of a church and a rabbi, or a member of a church, or a member of a temple and a rabbi, or a church and a minister, or even two people who cared for each other deeply. The Machzon is a checkpoint. And in this film, which featured Machzon Watch, which is called Mother Courage, mothers go out to checkpoints on the borders of Israel to witness the Palestinians moving from Palestine into Israel to work. One of the women said, "Our weakness is our strength. We go to the contentious borders without any weapons, armed only with compassion." One woman in the Machzon Watch said, "We represent for the soldiers some part of Israel that they left behind when they came out to these checkpoints. And we remind them that they were brought up to respect all people." At those checkpoints, these women, with nothing but carafes of tea or coffee, helped detained young Palestinian men make phone calls to their own mothers. They talk to the young soldiers. They encourage them to be calm. They call their ranking officers to make sure the procedures are being followed. These courageous women use their maternal spirits for peace. They stand between the young men with guns and the Palestinian young men ready for a fight. They stand at the Machzon, at the checkpoint, for that symbolic creator of life, peace, and love. Mothers have power. Anyone who's ever had a Jewish mother knows the special power she has. Some mothers find they can leverage that power to influence not only their children, but the world. In a moment, I want to show you a film clip about two mothers working for peace. When Aaron and I were talking about mothers making peace in the world, he directed me to this clip. It's a powerful and touching story of two mothers who crossed the Rubicon of hate and anger to a peaceful engagement and teaching to model for us all a mother's courage to speak for peace. In a moment, a TED Talk piece with Phyllis Rodriguez and Aisha El-Wafi. Maybe some of you have seen it. Rodriguez's son was killed in the World Trade Center on September 11th, and El-Wafi's son is Zacarias Moussaoui, convicted in the role in the attacks. They met and joined forces to speak for peace in only a way mothers can do. So here's a taste of their collaboration.
When I saw Aisha in the media coming over when her son was indicted, and I thought, what a brave woman. Someday I want to meet that woman when I'm stronger. I was still in deep grief. I knew I didn't have the strength. I knew I would find her someday, or we would find each other. Because when people heard that my son was a victim, I got immediate sympathy. But when people learned what her son was accused of, she didn't get that sympathy. But her suffering is equal to mine. So we met in November 2002, and Aisha will now tell you how that came about.
Bonsoir, messieurs, dames.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Je suis la maman de Zacharias Moussaoui.
I am the mother of Zacharias Moussaoui.
Quand elle est arrivée, j'ai demandé les droits de l'homme pour me faire contacter des parents des victimes.
Organization of Human Rights to put me in touch with the parents of the victims.
Et ils m'ont présenté cinq familles.
Introduced me to 5 families.
Et mon regard s'est posé sur Phyllis.
And I saw Phyllis and I watched her.
Elle était la seule mère.
She was the only mother in the group.
Les autres étaient des frères, des sœurs.
The others were brothers, sisters.
Dans son regard, j'ai compris que c'était une mère comme moi.
And I saw in her eyes that she was a mother just like me.
Je suis une mère que j'ai beaucoup souffert.
I suffered a lot as a mother.
D'abord un mariage à 14 ans.
I was married when I was 14.
J'ai perdu un enfant quand j'avais 15 ans.
I lost a child when I was 15.
Un deuxième quand j'avais 16 ans.
A second child when I was 16.
Et donc l'histoire de Zacharias a fait déborder.
So the story with Zacharias was too much, really.
Et ma souffrance, elle continue.
And I still suffer
Parce que mon fils, il est enterré vivant.
because my son is buried alive.
Je sais qu'il a pleuré pour son fils.
I know she really cried for her son,
Elle sait où il est.
but she knows where he is.
Moi, mon fils, je ne sais pas si il est torturé, je ne sais pas s'il est vivant, je ne sais pas qu'est-ce qu'il est devenu, mon fils.
My son, I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's alive. I don't know if he's tortured. I don't know what happened to him.
Et c'est pour ça que j'ai décidé, la souffrance sera positive pour les autres.
So that's why I decided to tell my story, so that my suffering is something positive for other women.
Pour toutes les femmes, pour toutes les mères ils donnent la vie.
For all the women, all the mothers that give life.
On peut redonner quelque chose, on peut changer quelque chose.
You can give back. You
C'est à nous
can
de le faire des
change.
femmes.
It's up to us,
Parce qu'on est
women,
des femmes.
because we are women,
Et parce qu'on aime nos enfants.
because we love our children.
Et donc on doit faire la main dans la main et faire quelque chose ensemble.
We must be hand in hand and do something together.
C'est pas contre les hommes, pour les hommes et pour nous.
It's
Pour
not
nos
against
enfants.
women, it's for us women, for our children.
Je vais dans des écoles, je parle pour les jeunes filles musulmanes, pour pas se marier. Je vais aussi contre la violence, contre le terrorisme.
I talk against violence, against terrorism. I go to schools to talk to young Muslim girls so that they don't accept to be married against their will, very young.
Et si je peux sauver une fille ou deux de ce mariage horrible, cette violence à l'intérieur je me rappelle de moi, c'est une gloire malgré que je suis malheureuse.
So unless, if I can save one of the young girls and avoid that they get married and suffer as much as I did, well, this is something good.
C'est pour cette raison que je suis là.
This is why I'm here in
Yes.
front of you.
Rise, mothers. Why would I show you that clip? Not one of us is the mother or parent of a terrorist, nor possibly the parent of someone killed on that day. But these two women are trying to live out what Julia Ward Howe's call was to us, to believe in peace, to believe it is possible, and it starts with each of us. Each of them transcended their own suffering to speak as mothers. Would two fathers do this? Possibly. But they didn't. And I think the reason is because these two women contain what author Harriet Rubin called mamisma, the energy of a mother bear that when she must protect her cubs. Rubin said the mother bear must not act out of vengeance, but out of the urge to provide for and protect future generations. Mamisma, I think, encourages us to think creatively, to act from a kinder and stronger place, and not to copy the old structures and institutions that men have dominated for centuries that create war and chaos, but to radically alter the way in which we share our world. That means that you and I, that women and men must find mamisma in us, the power that we possess to nurture and care and foster unconditional love with warm, practical, fierce, joyful reassurance. Mamisma is ours to have. And on this Mother's Day, I believe it is ours to be called to know that we can make the world a better place, no matter if we are celebrating our mothers today or not. Julia Ward Howe wrote, "Let women now," and I believe she would say today, "let all now solemnly take counsel with each other as a means whereby the great human family can live in peace, each bearing after his own time the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God." Mother's Day was once about rallies for peace and love. Today, rightly or wrongly, it is a celebration of our mothers. Yet we could say it is also a commercial celebration of domesticity. I say let it be a powerful day to celebrate mothers and to give thanks to life givers, to praise their efforts and honor their strength, but also to make it a day for mamisma, for us to honor and celebrate peace. So I say, let us send peace cards today instead of Mother's Day cards, knowing that some of you do send peace cards for Mother's Day cards. Let us stand at the borders. Let us speak across enemy lines. Let us find deep in our hearts a place of love. So today in church, we are honoring the original intent of this day, and we invite you to visit the peace pole we planted in the courtyard. There are only a handful of peace poles in faith communities here in Dallas. And with it today, we make a statement that peace must prevail first here and then in the world. And in order to honor that original intent of Mother's Day, we have put a card in your order of service. It looks like this. And on it, we are writing our prayers for peace, our hopes for the peace of someone else or ourselves, for our workplaces or for our nation, for children or for soldiers, for friends near and far. I invite you to take time now to write a prayer of peace on this card, and after worship, join Reverend White in the courtyard to bless those prayers around our peace pole. Let us take a moment if you have a card, to write a prayer of peace. If you did not get a card or wish to make another, there are some more. They will be out at the peace pole. May our prayers of peace fly today in the wind, in the spirit of mamisma, which is within all of us.